glitchy. It's kind of a warm-up for tomorrow when we do the big live stream on January 1st. So glad everybody could join us for today, and hopefully the comments will be good, and we will go from there. So we'll just wait a few minutes and see if everything gets started here live the way we want it to. So as I said, I'm glad everybody could be here today. This is kind of like a trial warm-up for the big live stream tomorrow, January 1st at 3 p.m. So just giving it a few moments to see if some people jump on here, and we'll give it a test run. As I said, it's kind of a warm-up for tomorrow, January 1st, and why? We're going to be starting off regular live streams in the new year, and we're doing it with an MLB prize vlog giveaway as well, which is kind of cool. So what that is we published a vlog on December 24th. You can go check out that vlog on YouTube. Enter all the way up until tomorrow, January 1st at 3 p.m. That's when we're going to do the official live stream. Knock on wood. Hopefully no hiccups for that one. And somebody's going to win some MLB swag. We're giving a pair of MLB gloves, Toronto Blue Jays branded. So sorry if you're not a Blue Jays fan. But we're going to be giving that away just as a way to say thank you for everybody who has supported Baseball Rambles. So like I said, today's just a warm-up for tomorrow. Want to see if we can knock off any of those cobwebs before the big MLB live stream. But nonetheless, I thought we could talk about some quick topics today. And the first one being, are the Blue Jays done for the offseason? And I'm going to go with a big yes. I think we could easily add a bench piece, and I have a funny suspicion it could be somebody like Raimel Tapia. That's right, he's still out there. He provides some solid defense, not great, but solid defense nonetheless for the Jays, and gives Toronto an opportunity to have a player come back next year who is familiar with the Blue Jays organization. If they can snag him on like a $4 million deal, looks good for a bench player for the Jays. And as I said, Raimel Tapia is somebody who can play all over the outfield, so there's some pluses there. He will get some playing time. I mean, we do have Springer, Kiermaier, and Dalton Varsho handling the outfield for the Jays. But nonetheless, I think Raimel Tapia would be an excellent bench piece. But any additional pieces that come on for the Blue Jays are certainly going to be pieces like Raimel Tapia. Maybe a low-end bullpen risk like they just picked up recently, but something like that. I have a few more people joining us, so as I said, today's just a quick warm-up vlog. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 3 p.m. when we're going to do the big one, and we have an MLB prize giveaway for subscribers, so make sure you get in on that. And as a bonus for everybody who tunes in today, we'll give you a chance to enter in this prize vlog, this live stream. All you have to do is in the comments below, enter your favorite MLB team movie. So it could be any MLB or any baseball movie, Bad News Bears, The Rookie, Moneyball. All you have to do is put that in the comments below. Make sure you're a subscriber. Your name goes in the hat. You'll win a pair of MLB gloves, hopefully. Toronto Blue Jays gloves, though. And talking about Toronto Blue Jays, since their off-season moves are done, the next big question for management is extensions. That's right. We got a variety of players and impact players who will become free agents after the 2025 season. So the clock is ticking. And as I always said, with somebody like Vladimir Guerrero, the longer the Jays wait on this, and this is the season to do it, the more expensive he gets, and more importantly, the opportunity that Vladdy says, nah, I'll just ride out my last year or two and test free agency for a huge contract, kind of like what's going on with Ohtani. But I think Ohtani is more about the Angels, but that's a conversation for another day. So as I said, what's it going to take to get Vladdy signed long-term? First one is a ton of money. $400 million, probably spread over 14 years. But what the Jays need to do is structure the contract so after 5 years from now, so somewhere in 2028, Vladdy can opt out and try to get a huge contract, which 90% of the players do, unless they're risk injury prone or their production drops. And then maybe have another opt out after year 9. But after 9 years in a Blue Jays uniform, unless the Jays are severely tanking, I suspect that Vladdy will ride it out. The important thing there is by doing a $400 million contract, maybe 410, over 14 million bucks, kind of keeps them under 30 million bucks a year. So a little bit in line, even though the Blue Jays are certainly spending this offseason. But by doing it with the opt-out clauses, it kind of gives the Jays a bit of an exit strategy if Vladdy does start to dip. And really, realistically, the Jays window is only open for another 5 years. Anyways, max, when you include players like Bichette, Manoah, Springer, Varsho, basically the core of the team. Another 5 years from now, it's not going to be the same type of Blue Jays. So that gives Vladdy an opportunity to walk. But if there is one player that absolutely needs to get this extension done this offseason, it's going to be Vladdy. And Vladdy is the number one thing on the Jays to-do list now. Getting some more comments. Yeah, I agree too. If they go to next year with Vladdy, I think there's still an opportunity because he still has 2 more years of arbitration after that. And you mentioned Bo in the comments, and I'm glad you did because I think Bo Bichette, I did a vlog about this a month and a half ago, might end up being the odd man out. And that's really unfortunate. Look at Bo's numbers from September last year. This guy was the best shortstop in baseball for production. I know there's been some questions and marks about whether he is a premier shortstop defender, but this guy has the bat. But I think if they get Guerrero signed, Vladdy, then they pivot to maybe Alek Manoah and lock him up early for a lower value like they've done with other starting pitchers, maybe getting them around 13 to 15 million a year for 5 or 6 years, allows the Jays to then decide who do we want to sign long term. Is it going to be Bo or is it going to be Kirk? And either one of those two players, I think, will eventually fall through the cracks with the Jays management. I suspect Bo because he might be a little bit more expensive. And that means next year or the year after that, the Jays will have a big question mark about do they trade Bo Bichette and try to sign a additional shortstop or do they do something else? And it goes actually to a free agent, not a free agent, a player who's been dangled recently with trade talks, and that's Ha-Seong Kim. And what I like about Kim, I said the Jays need to get aggressive on signing him. Padres eventually did. They're just overloaded right now, and that's why they want to let him go. They did some huge moves in the offseason. But this guy plays all over the infield. His first year with the Padres sucked. Last year was a little bit more of the Ha-Seong Kim that we like. And I said he's a lot like Lourdes Gurriel. And I compare both of these guys to actually DJ LeMahieu from the Yankees. And what DJ LeMahieu is an ultimate utility player who can play almost anywhere in the field. But on top of that, this guy can hit. Now, I'm not saying Lourdes Gurriel or Ha-Seong Kim are on DJ LeMahieu's level, but if you get somebody who can hit between 260 and 280 and play everywhere, that's really good. And if the Jays could make a move, because they're going to sell this guy low and absorb him, I know he's owed about 10 million bucks for the next few years, maybe a little bit less. It could be an interesting filler if Matt Chapman leaves next year, Whit Merrifield at second base, or ultimately if they trade Bo. And that's really a player that the Jays need to overpay. And I don't mean to overpay because they're just over the competitive tax threshold. But somebody like Ha-Seong Kim could give the Jays some pivot room moving forward. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Bo. Yeah, Oswald Cabrera, yeah, super utility guy. You know, and those types of players are really underrated. That's why I was really surprised with the Jays. I know Dalton Varsho is going to be a big impact for Toronto in the outfield, but adding Lourdes Gurriel, I know they say with the trade value, him and Moreno together gave us a better deal, but that was a tough one to swallow. Gurriel could play all over. This guy hit well. I know he was going to be a free agent after next, but he was only owed about, $4 or $5 million bucks. I don't know. Arizona got a good deal with him, and he could be actually traded again if Arizona tanks. I don't know. Maybe we trade for him and get him back in the offseason. I'm joking. But that's exactly what's going to happen with Trey Mancini. Not to pivot to another part. I know this is supposed to be a quick chat, but we're rambling on now. We got a few people watching. As I said, this was just a warm-up for the real big one tomorrow at 3 p.m. when we're also going to do an MLB prize giveaway. But on top of that, nonetheless, Trey Mancini is still out there. And this guy, I say, is one of the undervalued players. I just did a vlog today, so I won't get into it. This guy had, 51 bad games with Houston, but multiple great seasons with Baltimore, and he's still sitting out there with crickets? I don't understand it. I mean, he only wants a one-year deal so he can establish himself and get signed and get paid. Not like Marcus Semien, not on his level, but certainly a situation like that. And that's why I think it's interesting, because Houston sent a bag of prospects to Baltimore to get Trey. Trey sucked there. He was supposed to be a big impact back to get him through the World Series. They won the World Series anyway, so it's kind of a moot point. But wouldn't it be funny if he went right back to Baltimore again? They get Trey Mancini again, plus the prospects from Houston. And I don't think Baltimore is going to be quite as good as they were. They were very surprising. But nonetheless, maybe Trey Mancini really reestablished himself, and then he gets traded off to another contending team like the Yankees or Padres, Dodgers. Nonetheless, and see if he can pivot that success into a big contract. But wouldn't that be funny? Trey Mancini back at Camden Yards. And if he wants to reestablish himself to get paid, there's no better spot for Trey, because he's comfortable there. He hits really well there. So it's going to make teams take notice. And you can get him for like $9-10 million bucks. We're talking Kevin Kiermaier money here. That's my ramble here about Trey Mancini. Yeah, I agree. With a lot of players coming off, the Jays are going to have the room to make financial flexibility for Vlad. And Vlad's their number one priority. And one of the nice things about the Jays is I was always impressed when Jays management spent like $180 million bucks. We're at the competitive tax threshold. Who would have ever thought that for Toronto management? We got to be smiling right now. When they always said there was money to spend, I was somewhat skeptical, especially after COVID and the revenues that might have been lost there. But Rogers, at least they're stepping up for next year. So kudos on them. So they definitely should have the money for Vlad. It'd be interesting to see what somebody just said that about Matt Chapman. I'm curious after next year what Matt Chapman's going to get in free agency. He's going to be a real interesting case and very hard to judge. He's got best defender, one of the best defenders, third baseman in all baseball. I know he got robbed of the Gold Glove, but nonetheless. And this guy has power. I know his production kind of sucks. I said he's kind of comparable to Dalton Varsho in a lot of ways. So it'll be interesting to see what he gets paid in free agency next year. I can't even scratch my head around a number yet. Another thing I wanted to talk about the Jays that's exciting about next year, before we wrap up in a little bit, is the bullpen. Ross Atkins did a quote a couple of weeks ago saying that the Blue Jays are going to have one of the best bullpens in all of baseball next year. And that made my eyebrows raise. Like, really? I don't know. And maybe it's just because Blue Jays fans have been burned for so many seasons with a lousy bullpen. And we can go all the way back. Remember BJ Ryan? Oh, give me shivers mentioning his name. $65 million bucks? Was it? I don't know. Something like that. I'm trying to remember, but I'm getting old here. Nonetheless, the Jays are exciting. Think about this. We got Jordan Romano, who had a 2.9 WAR. This guy had an ERA, I have a note here, 2.11. On top of that, we add on Anthony Bass at the midseason last year. And this guy had a 2.7 WAR, 1.75 ERA. Finished off the season with 1.54 because he pitched quite better with the Marlins, but still 1.75 ERA. Now we add on, hopefully, a resurgence of Garcia, Simber, Tim Meza, and Zach Pop. It's looking quite good. And now the big trade from Teoscar to get Eric Swanson. And this guy's ERA 1.68. This guy's a hard thrower. And for the first time since the Jays' history, we got a real solid 7, 8, 9 with Anthony Bass, Eric Swanson, and Jordan Romano, plus other decent pieces. So I can see some validity to what Ross Atkins said. And I think what Ross Atkins was really referring to is the addition of Nate Pearson, something that Jays fans haven't really been talking about. And Nate Pearson has been pitching winter ball again. The difference is in previous seasons when Nate Pearson gets hurt, so he has to pitch winter ball to, try to improve himself. He's always pitched as a starter. Not this year. He actually pitched as a reliever and pitched quite well. So in some ways, Jays management have tipped their hat of what they're going to do with Nate Pearson moving forward. Maybe because he's so injury prone. Nonetheless, he's going to move into a reliever role. This guy pitched just a little over 11 innings in winter ball relief role. Only had 5 hits, 15 strikeouts. Had that nasty pitch at 100 miles an hour, just rocking again and again. Had that upper sinker going. Had everything you wanted to see from Nate Pearson. And if this guy can join Anthony Bass, imagine that. Nate Pearson, Eric Swanson, Jordan Romano, 7, 8, 9, and still have Anthony Bass, Garcia, Simber, Tim Meza, Zach Pop around. Oh. And who knows what's going to happen with Julian Merriweather and David Phelps. Really exciting. So the Jays bullpen right now is actually good. Could be great. And maybe amazing. So there is some truth to what Ross Atkins said. Yeah, I agree. Jansen's an interesting case because my thoughts are this. If they don't trade Teoscar for a reliever, then it's Jansen who goes for a reliever because that's what I thought Jansen's value might have been at that time for a decent, solid reliever. And talking about Danny Jansen, actually was the next point, so I'm glad you brought it up. I think he could be an insurance piece for the Jays come trade deadline. What I mean is they're going to give Alejandro Kirk probably the bulk of the catching. I suspect that's what's going to happen, just to allow him to grow defensively behind the plate, which kind of puts Danny Jansen into that backup role. And this guy is good enough to be a premier starting catcher for any other team. So come All-Star break, come MLB summer trade deadline, if there are teams that are coveting catching, which always seems to happen, and they always seem to over deadline time, I could actually see Danny Jansen going for an additional bullpen piece at that time. But yeah, I agree. There could have been other opportunities. I'm still on the fence about Dalton Varsho. I know he is a premier defender in the outfield, but he doesn't have a ton of experience in the outfielder. If you do a little bit of history on this guy, he actually came up as a catcher and now has been converted into an outfielder. There's pure athleticism. This guy can steal. This guy can hit for power. But can he hit for production? Not so much. He's got like a 240 batting average. Sorry, some background noise here. Inevitable, nonetheless. But the thing is with him, he's a lot like Matt Chapman. Matt Chapman's a huge pitcher, huge hitter, a lot of power, but streaky. And that's my worry about Dalton Varsho. So I agree with exactly what you said. There could have been some other moves there. And I would have been more comfortable actually sending Gabriel Moreno back down to the minors if we had to. I guess the question with Jays management is if they gave Alejandro Kirk the bulk of the catching, which they seem to want to do, and they still had Gabriel Moreno, he would have been like converted into a DH type. And actually Gabriel Moreno has better defensive abilities, they say, than Alejandro Kirk. So their hands were tied there. It was like, out of those three, who can the Jays make a backup catcher? And that's unfortunately what Danny Jansen got. As I finish up here, one of the things I just wanted to talk about is why the Jays have to go with Kikuchi White. I'm not thrilled about this, but when you got $25 million left on the books for these two guys, that's what Jays management are going to do. I actually thought they were going to try to stretch Nate Pearson out and use him as the insurance piece, but I guess it's Mitch White who's the insurance piece for Kikuchi. This could blow up quickly for the Jays. So it'll be interesting to see what the Jays do. I guess they're banking on their top 4 starters, Bassett, Manoah, Gausman, Barrios, to be strong enough to carry the deficiencies of the 5th starter. And who knows, knock on woods, maybe Kikuchi or Mitch White do a 180. They get something done for the Jays. Hopefully that happens. This is where I said about Jano, could be used to get like a low-end number 5 starter, something like that. And it'll be interesting to see what happens come MLB trade deadline. If Kikuchi is still, or Mitch White, in that number 5 start. And they talked about Tiedemann coming up. This guy is still in AA. He might get promoted to AAA. He's not like Alec Manoah where he's going to bounce quickly. So he's really not an option till maybe the end of next year. But I suspect he could be definitely a starter coming up for the 2024 season. So 90 days to go. Hope everybody's getting excited about MLB baseball. I am. Thanks for tuning in today. We were supposed to talk for 5-7 minutes. We rambled on for 20. Tomorrow is actually the real live stream. This was just to bang out a whole bunch of cobwebs. We were supposed to start at 2. We started at like 3. So tomorrow, make sure you tune in. All you have to do to get entered for the MLB prize, and I think I have it right here. Pardon me as I get up. Pair of official MLB merchandise, always, not secondhand. I know it's Toronto Blue Jays. All you have to do to get in on this, and we don't collect personal info, I'm not into any of that, just want to say thank you. Make sure you're a subscriber, and in the comments below on this live stream, or the prize vlog that was published on December 24th, just tell me what your favorite MLB movie is. I go between 2. I love Moneyball because of how detailed it is, and I love The Rookie with, I was going to say Randy Quaid, Dennis Quaid. Randy Quaid, I keep thinking crapper. I can't swear, but you know the line from National Lampoons. Anyways, nonetheless, just let me know what your favorite baseball movie is, and hit subscribe. And then tomorrow, 3 p.m., we're doing the real live stream. We're going to put everybody's name in a hat, pick it out old school style. We're going to send you off some MLB merch. Thanks for tuning in today. Hope everybody stays healthy, stays safe. Hit subscribe if you haven't already. We'll ramble on soon. Take care, guys.